In our headlines on this Wednesday, January 8th, here in South Korea. A second warrant authorizing the arrest of the president for questioning on insurrection charges has been issued, following an earlier failure to detain him last week. Meanwhile, the Korea Development Institute says economic sentiments among households and businesses alike have tumbled tangibly amid the country's political turmoil. Big-name tech companies and their smaller counterparts have made the annual trek to Las Vegas for this year's Consumer Electronics Show to share their innovations for the future. As widely expected, a second warrant authorizing the arrest of President Yoon has been issued. Our Lee Soo-jin reports.
A South Korean court has authorized a second attempt to arrest President Yoon. The Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials has announced that the Seoul Western District Court issued another arrest warrant on Tuesday evening. Both the court and the CIO, however, did not reveal the extension period. While warrants are typically valid for 7 days, as was the case with the initial arrest warrant, a judge may extend the duration if deemed necessary. The issuance of the second arrest warrant comes after it was reapplied for on Monday when the initial warrant expired. The chief of the CIO told lawmakers at the National Assembly on Tuesday that the agency would treat the second attempt as their last chance.
With the determination that the second warrant execution will be the final one, the CIO will do its best and prepare thoroughly and meticulously to ensure the objective is achieved.
He also apologized for the failed first arrest attempt that took place last Friday. The CIO's first attempt to detain President Yoon at his residence in Hannam-dong was met with strong resistance from the Presidential Security Service, ending in a tense standoff that lasted more than 5 hours. With the tightening of security measures at the presidential residence after the first arrest attempt, including the installation of barbed wire and the blocking of entrances with vehicles, the investigation team is likely to increase the number of personnel for the second attempt. Investigators have also warned that they are considering arresting Presidential Security Service personnel as offenders if they attempt to disrupt the second arrest attempt. The CIO will once again lead the warrant execution. It tried on Monday to delegate the enforcing of the warrant to the police but failed as it is not legally permitted to transfer investigative duties to another agency. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
And news of a second, potentially more forceful attempt to arrest the president has gathered huge crowds of his followers to his official residential area. For more on this, I have our An Sung-jin standing by live on site. Sung-jin, along with those standing in support of the president, I believe there are also those demanding his detainment. What have you been seeing and hearing there?
Sunny, I've been standing here nearby the presidential residence for the past couple of hours, and I have to speak up a little bit more compared to my normal voice due to the sounds that are coming from nearby protests, especially right from behind me. I say that the protest situation was relatively tame yesterday, but following the second arrest warrant issued, things have been stoked up again. What's surprising though, Sunny, is that the weather is below zero at the moment, yet people have been camping out here overnight. Protests from both sides are taking place here at the moment as we speak, with thousands gathered. Conservative groups, including the Freedom Union, have gathered here to show support for President Yoon, waving Korean and American flags. They've been shouting things like, "Let's save Korea" and "Arrest Lee Jae-myung," the main opposition leader.
Does this make sense that they are arresting Yoon Suk-yeol? He is not an individual but a president of the country. Our country is in anarchy.
But also people who've been pushing for Yoon's immediate arrest, including the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, have also been waving placards and shouting for the CIO's prompt execution of the arrest warrant.
Regardless of one's political preferences, declaring martial law itself is wrong. I've been coming out here day and night, so I hope this is over so I can get some sleep.
Right, and Sung-jin, how is the police seeking to maintain peace among the two factions of public protesters there?
Right, Sunny, I'd say it's generally been peaceful out here, but I wouldn't say there haven't been any clashes at all. From small and large bickering to quarrels to physical clashes with the police and the conservative groups, things have been slightly agitated out here in the streets. The police have set up barricades to prevent the two sides from getting into fights. The Seoul Metropolitan has asked the Seoul Metropolitan government has asked the police to ensure that there is minimal disruption. The police have also placed more personnel, rerouted city buses, and provided live traffic information. Protests for and against the president's arrest are expected to continue throughout the day, both nearby the presidential residence and near the Constitutional Court. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Sung-jin, thank you for braving the call to bring us that report. That was our An Sung-jin reporting live from the president's neighborhood of Hannam-dong. Now, at the National Assembly this afternoon, two bills aimed at initiating special probes into allegations against President Yoon Suk-yeol and First Lady Kim Gun-hee have failed to pass the latest parliamentary vote. Out of the 300 lawmakers, 198 voted in favor of the prosecution bill against the president, while 101 voted against it and 1 abstained. Meanwhile, with regard to the bill targeting the First Lady, 196 voted in favor, 103 voted against, and 1 vote was deemed invalid. The opposition-led bill sought to investigate insurrection charges against the president for his brief imposition of martial law and alleged stock manipulation by his wife. The bills were rejected by acting President Choi Sang-mok last week and returned to the National Assembly for a revote. In other news, transport authorities here say a bird strike did indeed occur prior to the fatal crash of the Boeing plane operated by Jeju Air on December 29th. Our Lee Seung-jae has details.
The Ministry of Land Infrastructure and Transport announced on Tuesday that the Jeju Air passenger plane that crashed at Muan International Airport initially suffered a bird strike. Based on the pilot's Mayday distress call and testimony from the surviving crew members, a bird strike was pointed out as the initial cause of the accident, making it the first time the government has confirmed a cause. Lee Seung-yeol, the head of the accident investigation team of the Aviation and Railway Accident Investigation Board, confirmed the bird strike during a briefing, adding that it's clear at least one of the engines was struck by a bird. He added that an investigation is still ongoing to see if both engines were affected. Given the presence of feathers in one engine, Lee said investigators reached that conclusion due to the presence of feathers in one engine, but added that such an incident does not mean an engine will immediately shut down. Amid controversy that the location of a concrete mound holding localizers at the end of the runway exacerbated the deadly result of the crash, the Transport Ministry says it was built and installed following regulations. The ministry also cited International Civil Aviation Organization and the Federal Aviation Administration regulations and pointed out that there was nothing wrong with the concrete mound, which is the base facility of the localizer. However, Transport Minister Park Sang-woo said authorities are well aware of the concerns and will swiftly improve the structures at airports in the interest of safety. The Transport Minister also announced that the government has excluded former and current senior officials from taking part in the investigation to avoid conflicts of interest and ensure a fair and objective probe. Park said that Chang Man-hee, the chairman of the Aviation and Railway Accident Investigation Board and a former Transport Ministry official, as well as Chu Jong-wan, the head of the ministry's Aviation Policy Office, have been excluded from all board activities. The Transport Minister also offered his resignation over the Jeju Air tragedy. Meanwhile, the damaged flight data recorder has been transferred to the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board in Washington, D.C. Data extraction will take 3 days, but experts said it may take several months to fully analyze it by matching the data with the cockpit voice recorder. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The United Nations Security Council is poised to convene on Wednesday in New York to address North Korea's latest launch of a ballistic missile. The planned meeting comes after a request by 6 countries, namely South Korea, the US, the UK, Denmark, France and Slovenia. Earlier on Monday, North Korea test-fired an intermediate-range ballistic missile toward waters of its east coast. The following day, the regime claimed it had successfully tested a ballistic missile tipped with a hypersonic warhead. South Korea, for its part, has cast doubt on this claim. A state-run think tank has shed concerning light on the broader impact of Korea's political unrest on its economic sentiment among households and businesses alike. Our Choi Min-jung explains.
The South Korean economy is experiencing mounting downward pressure amid domestic political uncertainty. The Korea Development Institute said in a report Wednesday that South Korea's economic sentiments have dropped significantly due to the recent political unrest following President Yoon's short-lived martial law declaration on December 3rd. Household and corporate sentiment indices have fallen further than during President Park Geun-hye's impeachment in 2016. The Composite Consumer Sentiment Index declined by 9.4 points over 3 months in 2016, whereas it dropped by 12.3 points in just 1 month during the recent turmoil. The recent Business Survey Index also fell comparatively sharper than during Park's impeachment. As figure suggests, an expert says the current situation is much more uncertain than it was during the Park Geun-hye impeachment proceedings.
Currently, many of the problems that Korea is facing concerning the impeachment is outside the Constitution or somewhere where it's not really very well defined by the Constitution. So in some sense, we are in a very uncertain ground that is basically increased not only political but economic uncertainty.
The KDI also noted that economic recovery is being delayed by slowing production growth. The construction sector has continued to struggle with weak performance, while industrial production in mining and manufacturing receded in recent months, despite high growth in semiconductors due to declines in automobile production. Despite the recent political turmoil, however, financial market indicators such as exchange rates and stock prices have remained relatively stable. Experts also expect some recovery in economic sentiment, but believe it'll be harder the longer the current political turmoil lasts. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
January 27th of this year will be a public holiday. Now, this comes as part of efforts to encourage private spending by creating a 6-day Lunar New Year holiday this year, starting from the weekend prior to the Monday of January 27th, all the way to the 30th, that is Thursday. The decision was reached during talks between government officials and ruling party lawmakers at the parliament, where they addressed ways to ensure economic stability amid dwindling domestic demand and the rising risk of Trump tariffs. With regard to the latter, acting President Choi Sang-mok has pledged weekly pan-ministry discussions to coordinate productive response measures. Meanwhile, interim chairman of the People Power Party, Kwon Young-se, spoke of efforts to work on legislation in support of the local economy. And on the corporate front, both Samsung Electronics and LG Electronics expect a substantial drop in operating profits for the final quarter of 2024 amid soaring expenses but slowing demand. Our Ian Jin reports.
Samsung Electronics reported Wednesday that the company's estimated operating profits for the October to December period came to 6.5 trillion won, which is around $4.5 billion. That's a decline of nearly 30% compared to the previous quarter. The chipmaker said this was due to lower global demand for PCs and mobile phones, as well as higher R&D costs. Revenue for the fourth quarter rose 10.7% to 75 trillion won, or $51.6 billion on year. For 2024, the annual operating profit came to 32.73 trillion won, or around $22.5 billion, up nearly 400% from the previous year. Meanwhile, LG Electronics also reported on Wednesday that the company's estimated operating profits for the fourth quarter came to 3.43 trillion won, or $2.4 billion, down 6.1% compared to the year before. The company said its sluggish earnings were due to global economic uncertainties. However, the country's leading home appliance maker recorded 87.74 trillion won, or $60.33 billion in annual revenue for 2024, marking a new record for the highest annual revenue in the company's history. Both companies plan to release their final earnings results later this month. Yoon Jin, Arirang News.
The Consumer Electronics Show is said to be the world's largest tech show, during which big-name companies and their smaller counterparts head to Las Vegas in January to share their innovative approaches to life in the foreseeable future. For more on those innovations, our correspondent Moon Hae-ryun files this report.
The wait is finally over. CES, the first big annual tech event of 2025, officially kicked off today and is expected to draw hundreds of thousands of people.
With the event due to run until Friday local time, more than 4,500 exhibitors have gathered to showcase and set the tone for this year's tech innovations under this year's theme, Connect, Solve, Discover, Dive In. It explores how new technologies can connect humanity and contribute to solving global issues, thoroughly explored over the past 2 days prior to the event through press conferences and keynote speeches. From the Consumer Technology Association's Tech Trends report to NVIDIA's Jensen Huang returning to CES for the first time in 8 years, the prevalence of AI is clear through much of the tech on display. This could mean a number of things for South Korea's tech giants. Hwang revealed to the press that he plans to meet with SK Group's chairman Chae Tae-won, with SK hynix being NVIDIA's biggest supplier of HBM chips. He also went on to emphasize Samsung's potential in supplying HBM chips to NVIDIA, stating that the firm will eventually succeed, no question. That being said, this event has gone from being called the Consumer Electronics Show to being branded just CES, with the president of the CTA saying this reflects how the event has come to be something of a consumer everything show instead. For this year's CES, the CTA laid out some particular areas of interest this year, such as digital coexistence, human security, community, and longevity. New programs this year also put a spotlight on 3 tech categories: mobility, quantum computing, and energy transition. Quantum computing was described as the next big development to come by the CTA. If the 2020s is the intelligence decade, then the 2030s will likely be the quantum era. There are exciting developments for mobility too, particularly as connectivity and sustainability become increasingly important, and the same applies to energy transition. Another highlight of CES is the Innovation Awards program that honors what are deemed outstanding innovations in design and engineering. And there are some new categories added this year, such as fashion tech and pet tech. Fashion tech is usually associated with smartwatches and fitness gear, but the CEO of Myant, this year's Best of Innovation honoree for fashion tech with its revolutionary textiles and clothing that integrates AI to monitor health conditions across the entire life cycle, says that it's more than something gimmicky.
It's going to go to a very serious level of relationship between humans, all humans, and fitness and health, all of them in one, because we're all wearing textile all the time.
And with an increasingly large market for pet products, pet tech is another fast-growing sector. This year's Best of Innovation honoree in pet tech, Paw Port, aims to address what pet owners want for their pets, such as comfort and safety for both.
Pets are a big part of everybody's family. Everybody loves their pets. We've got all this tech for our kids and everyone else, but people are trying to bring convenience and safety and fun into the pet space, which is important for a lot of people.
As CES 2025 unfolds, it's clear that this year's event is more than just a showcase of cutting-edge technology, but a glimpse into how innovation is shaping the way we live, work, and connect with the world around us. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News, Las Vegas.
It's been roughly 2 weeks since the release of Squid Game Season 2 on Netflix, and its merchandising strategy appears to be garnering just as much attention. Our Park Gun-woo shows us how.
The global hit TV show Squid Game has returned for its 2nd season. And the show continues to top Netflix's global top 10 TV shows chart as of Wednesday, in the 2nd week since its release on December 26. It exceeded 126 million viewers, calculated by dividing total viewing time by the show's total runtime, in just 11 days, making it the 2nd most watched non-English TV show on Netflix. Along with the show's popularity, the retail industry has leveraged it by creating fun experiential spaces. This Squid Game pop-up store makes you feel like you stepped right into a scene from the show. Now I'm about to participate in the game.
And if I can just grab these 5 Kongi stones, I'll be one step closer to the grand prize worth over $31 million. Maybe next time.
Since the first season of Squid Game, Korean traditional games featured in the show have gained global popularity. Accordingly, the store attracted visitors with the opportunity to try newly introduced games from the second season, including Konginori or Jackstones, with locals and international visitors joining long lines to participate.
Quite a big fan. I watched the second season really quickly, and I came because I wanted to experience the games. I hope I won't have shaky hands for this one because it looks very challenging, but I'm excited.
Products with Squid Game tie-ins, including beverages and snacks, sold at one of the major local convenience store franchises across the country, are also proving popular. And a pop-up store with all of these products has been attracting visitors, including people from abroad.
Oh, I happen to be visiting Korea, so I know this store has a pop-up, so I'm very interested to come and see.
According to an official, daily sales of these products have reached $68,000 since the release of Squid Game 2, a surge of around 60% compared to pre-release sales. He expects the trend to continue until the release of Season 3 later this year. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. We begin in the U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has stated that he will not rule out the use of military or economic measures in pursuing control over the Panama Canal and Greenland. Speaking at a press conference at his Florida resort on Tuesday local time, Trump responded to questions on the matter by saying that the U.S. needed Greenland for national security reasons. When asked if he would guarantee refraining from the use of force, he said he couldn't commit to that. He further remarked that tariffs might be imposed on Denmark if it rejects the proposal to acquire Greenland. This statement comes shortly after his son Donald Trump Jr. arrived in Greenland. In response, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said Greenland's future will be decided by Greenland, reiterating that the autonomous Danish territory is not for sale. Next, we turn to Tibet, where a devastating earthquake has killed at least 126 people. According to China's state-run Xinhua News Agency, a magnitude 7.1 earthquake hit Dingri County near the Nepal border in western China on Tuesday morning local time. The quake also left 188 injured and destroyed over 3,000 homes. Officials warn that the casualty count could rise as search and rescue efforts continue. Earlier reports from Xinhua noted that approximately 6,900 residents live within a 20-kilometer radius of the quake's epicenter. China Central Television reported that rescue teams successfully evacuated 407 isolated residents and set up 14 temporary shelters to accommodate more than 34,000 displaced individuals. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced on Tuesday that the company would be discontinuing its fact-checking program, saying a community-based system will take its place. Zuckerberg also revealed changes to content moderation policies, particularly regarding politically sensitive topics. The company is modifying or reversing policies that reduce the amount of political content on users' feeds. The adjustments will apply across Meta's major platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Zuckerberg also further criticized governments and traditional media for increasingly pressuring platforms to enforce censorship. He emphasized that Meta will streamline its policies to prioritize free expression on its platforms. Yoon Se-young, Arirang News.
The extreme cold spell is getting stronger. Tomorrow morning, the temperature in Seoul will plummet to -12 degrees Celsius. As this cold wave is expected to reach its peak, the first cold wave warning of this winter has also been issued in Seoul. Please be prepared for the cold so that you don't get sick. Currently, heavy snow advisories are in place in southern parts of Chungcheongnam-do province and northern parts of Jeollabuk-do province. These areas have already received about 10 centimeters of heavy snow, but up to 30 centimeters of more snow is expected in Jeollabuk-do province and the mountainous areas of Jeju Island until Friday. Tomorrow, Chuncheon will start off at -15 degrees, Daejeon -11 degrees. Highs will move up to -7 in Seoul and Chuncheon, -5 degrees in Daejeon. This snow and rain will continue until Friday in the Jeollado provinces and Sunday on Jeju Island. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Thank you for watching.